The tank role in general for Overwatch 2 is a miserable experience. And the reason why I think that is because of the huge overcorrection that supports got over the past couple seasons, which can not only explain the effects that it has on the tank role, but also many of the negative aspects of the state of the game at the moment. But let's focus on supports for a bit here. So one of the biggest problems with support at the beginning of Overwatch 2's life cycle was that supports really didn't have that much in terms of survivability. At the time, all we had was Ana, Baptiste, Bridget, Lucio, Mercy, Moira, and Zenyatta, as well as Kiriko joining the ranks. And with the exception of Ana and Kiriko, you didn't really have a guaranteed way to get out of a sticky situation. With the exclusion of a second tank, there really wasn't anything stopping a DPS or a tank from just walking in and destroying the supports. And even though characters like Ana and Kiriko were strong and did have a pretty good way to escape a bad situation, it really wasn't that uncommon to hear support being considered very terrible to play because you were just vulnerable and there was really nothing you could do, which at the time really was the case. You couldn't play support like you did in Overwatch 1. You didn't have that comfort of having that second tank protecting you. Now with the flow of the game going more traditional style, just like a traditional first-person shooter, supports were kind of out of luck. And this would continue to be a problem with the support role up until maybe like Season 4. And even with all those buffs that were given to support, it wasn't uncommon to see support being compared to Dead by Daylight. So of course Blizzard decided to correct a couple things. They decided to buff some of these heroes and introduce new heroes with abilities that were pretty strong in terms of survivability. Going down the list, Ana received a pretty good damage boost to her primary fire, while at the same time reverting the nerfs to her biotic grenade. Baptiste got a lot of buffs to his immortality field and also his instant healing, which practically gives him 3 effective health bars. Bridget herself gained a major rework and pretty much effective buff to her ultimate, which again increased her survivability by giving it a stun and a weird healing mechanic, effectively making it a good way to counter a push. Mercy has been moved around here and there, but overall her survivability still stays strong because she is just able to fly everywhere. A good skilled Mercy player can evade pretty much anything using tech that is pretty much integrated into the gameplay style, as well as a nice healthy buff to her healing. And while overall Zenyatta has been nerfed, he is still a pretty strong support, which just shows that he was never weak to begin with. And now we move on to the new heroes. Kiriko was always good. In fact, maybe a little too good and has received nerfs overall, but yet is still able to stay alive with her teleporting and keeping her teammates alive with her Suzu. In my personal opinion, Lifeweaver was always powerful in a sense. I do believe that Blizzard really did see the potential there, but everybody else didn't because the healing numbers were super low. Now I think that Lifeweaver is effectively overtuned, as now not only does he have great survivability utility with his ultimate and his abilities, but he also has great healing on top of that. And with Illari, we also have that same problem. Except this time it's in the opposite direction. She came out overtuned, but hasn't been tuned down enough. Her pylon having a lot of range, competent healing, and Illari herself being able to do immense amount of damage just shows that Blizzard was really overcompensating for the Lifeweaver release. Illari is pretty much responsible for the poking meta that we have now. Having a pylon that can heal from far away for a good amount and cannot be destroyed easily, all while she's still able to output great amount of damage, just enables the gameplay style of staying far away and keeping people alive. Put on top of that Lifeweaver, who heals a pretty good amount and has some great survivability utility, and it becomes extremely difficult to secure a kill or punish an enemy. This overcompensation with support has caused a lot of consequences to the rest of the game, but I think that the biggest effect that it's had has been to the tank role. Because survivability is so high and punishment is so difficult, it has pretty much lowered the effectiveness of dive and rush comps. In order for rush and dive to be effective, you not only need to close the distance, but you also need to confirm kills. It's already hard to confirm kills, but one of the reasons why it's so hard to close the distance is because of the enabling of characters such as Bastion. Now, I understand that Bastion did get some buffs in these past couple patch notes, but they really don't change the fundamental playstyle of Bastion. Bastion is not just his grenade, and it's not just his ultimate. Primarily, Bastion is his turret form, and that has largely stayed around the same, except for one thing. That's the repairing of 50 armor health, which overall increases his survivability. And that's important because before this season, Bastion wasn't really seen as anything powerful. For the longest time, Bastion was never really at the top of any tier lists or at the top of any metas. That reason being is that you could pretty much just wait until he gets out of his turret form and then go in for the punish. Bastion is pretty much defenseless at any range with pretty much any hero without his turret form. Nowadays, Bastion can stay alive for a lot longer with all these supports and all these ways to just survive. And because of that, the difficulty in order to punish a Bastion outside of his turret form has increased ever more. Put on top of that, Bastion's turret form is really great at destroying shields and pretty much able to outdamage any kind of form of survivability through his turret form, and now you got one of the best heroes of this season. And that's because of his increase in survivability. Not just because of his armor, but also because of the overcompensation to supports. Now, who else do we see a lot more often nowadays being played? Doomfist. Which you might think, wait a minute, how can Doomfist be enabled by this meta? Bastion himself can definitely melt a Doomfist like nothing, even if he's blocking it. And that's because Doomfist doesn't depend on his blocking in order to survive, he depends on his movement. So Doomfist has the ability to do that whole waiting game with Bastion and just move out of the way for a while. But he doesn't go for the Bastion when he's trying to make his moves. Because unlike a hero like Winston, Doomfist can confirm kills on his own, which at the moment is a very critical thing to do. Most other tanks cannot do that. The closest thing another tank may have to a kill confirm is Sigma's Boulder. Now, this isn't the end-all be-all, alright? These heroes aren't just like instantly rolling everybody, but they are some of the most powerful. Some heroes really are just terrible to play at the moment. I mean, that's not to say that you can't succeed, but personally, I believe that this overcorrection is not the way that Blizzard should go towards when it comes to balancing their game. I understand that supports really got the short end of the stick at the beginning of Overwatch 2. And I do believe that some changes were definitely in line. However, I don't agree with the way that Blizzard is handling this, because now you have one role that is supercharged and pretty much is defining the meta of the current era, while at the same time another role just feels like, man, this sucks. This really sucks. I hate this. I feel like I'm contributing nothing, but I know that if I don't continue doing what I'm doing, my team is gonna lose. I think the best way to close out this video is to kind of brainstorm some changes that could be done in order to alleviate the problem that is right now. And let me make it clear, look, I don't want supports to feel like playing Dead by Daylight, alright? At some level, I do believe that these changes were a net positive for the game. But at some point, we just crossed the line, and as a tank player, I don't want tank to be this miserable experience. I want tank to be fun, impactful, and also supportive. So here's my recommendation to Blizzard on what I would do in order to alleviate the problem. I would reel back Illari's damage just a bit. Not too much, because we don't want her to be ineffective as far as damage and just be a heal bot, but at the same time, doing pretty much the same as a Sojourn Railgun Blast for almost zero effort is a little strange. I would also decrease the range of her healing pylon. Keep the health the same, keep the amount of healing the same, but damn, why does it have to be such long range? I mean, just look at this, that's ridiculous. As for Lifeweaver, he has proven that his abilities are very strong when it comes to survivability, on their own. I don't think that he also needs to have that much healing potential as well. His abilities are pretty much on the same tier as Lucio as far as potency. So just like Lucio, reel back in the healing just a bit. But anyways, that's just my way of thinking. Now I'd like to hear from you. What do you guys think about the support role? What do you think of the tank's misery? Do you agree, disagree with my points in this video? Make sure to leave your comment down in the comment section below. If you found this video interesting, like it if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it. If you'd like to see more content just like this in the future, make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to support this channel, I do have memberships enabled, or you can also drop a super chat. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for my supporters. I will catch you guys later.